Hello, thank you for viewing my talk titled Designing an App to Help Individuals with Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities to Recognize Abuse. My name is Krishna Venkatasubramanian and I'm from the University of Rhode Island. This work was done in collaboration with colleagues at Worcester Polytechnic Institute, Massachusetts Advocates Standing Strong, also called MASS, Disabled Persons Protection Commission or DPPC, and with helps from colleagues at Massachusetts Department of Developmental Services. In the US, the abuse of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, or IDD, has reached epidemic proportions. To make matters worse, only a very small percentage of such abuse is ever reported. In our prior work, we found that people with IDD often do not know what constitutes abuse and what to do when they encounter it, especially if they have not received prior abuse prevention training. Therefore, the larger aim of our work is to develop a mobile computing-based app called Recogniz that can help people with IDD independently learn how to recognize abuse. As this is still ongoing work, in this paper we present how we went about designing the app and what we learned in the process. The learning material for Recogniz is based on Awareness and Action, or A&A, and abuse prevention training conducted by our partners MASS and DPPC. A&A is conducted as a 3-hour-long, in-person, interactive workshop that is designed for people with IDD and is also taught by people with IDD. Prior work in this domain has focused on topics such as understanding the use of technology for teaching people with IDD and developing e-learning tools for people with IDD to learn everyday skills. The work closest to ours is a serious game called Boundaries that teaches people with IDD about personal boundaries. We believe Boundaries is complementary to our effort. To the best of our knowledge, no prior work has focused on teaching people with IDD about abuse. We have a co-design approach to design Recogniz. Our co-design process involved 2 design teams called Design Team 1 and Design Team 2. Design Team 1 was made up of 3 individuals with IDD who are self-advocates, along with 1 neurotypical coordinator. All of them have over 10 years of experience in teaching the A&A training, which we mentioned earlier. Several members of Design Team 1 are abuse survivors themselves. Design Team 2 was made up of 5 people who are neurotypical and are HCI and psychology researchers. The 2 teams have been working together for several years and have considerable mutual trust, which allows them to be candid with each other. Members of both design teams are authors on the paper. Design Team 2 initialized a set of design concepts for the app, which Design Team 1, in discussion with Design Team 2, then refined during the co-design process. These design concepts form the basis of how the app would present itself to its users, who are people with IDD. The design concepts were of 2 broad types: learning design concept and engagement design concepts. We had 4 learning design concepts that were refined in the co-design process. We called them static, video, skill, and quiz. Static was about showing the learning material as a bunch of slides. Video was about showing a video involving an abuse situation and asking the user to indicate when they saw abuse in it. Skill was about learning a higher order skill around the notion of abuse, such as identifying emotions, making change with money, and identifying no-touch zones around a person's body. Finally, quiz was about teaching the learning material based purely on asking multiple choice questions. The engagement design concepts were independent of the learning design concepts and were focused on keeping the user using the app despite its potentially triggering content. We had 2 engagement design concepts. One was using a virtual friend who would become happy when the app was used and sad if the app was not used over time. The other engagement design concept was to use a grounding activity to allow a user to calm themselves. In this regard, we developed a box-clicking activity that was simple to perform. For more details on the design concepts, please see our paper. Through the co-design process, we developed 6 recommendations for designing the app. These were as follows. 1. Static content such as slides are necessary to convey an overall understanding of abuse. Interaction with videos should pause when asking questions. 3. Skill development activities should be carefully chosen to avoid triggers. 4. Quizzes should be used for enabling users to practice their knowledge and should be optional. 5. The motivational elements using rewards should never penalize. Rather, users should be able to accumulate their rewards over time. And 6, grounding activities are necessary and should always be included within the app. Based on the feedback obtained from the co-design process, we created 3 prototypes of Recogniz, which we call versions A, B, and C. All 3 prototypes featured a single lesson on sexual abuse. Version A showed the lesson as a slideshow. Version B showed the lesson as a collection of video clips interspersed with questions. Version C showed the lessons as a higher order skill activity, specifically the no touch zone activity. All lessons came with 1 or more multiple choice quiz questions at the end, which could be skipped. Each of the 3 versions used emojis for rewarding the user upon completing a lesson. A xylophone-based music activity was used for grounding the user in all 3 prototype versions. The grounding activity was presented after the completion of a lesson to allow a user to ground themselves if triggered. For more information about the prototypes, please refer to our paper. We performed a qualitative user study of the prototypes with 6 participants, 3 males and 3 females, who are instructors and have IDD. Each participant had between 3 to 15 years of experience teaching others with IDD. The user study was conducted over Zoom using its remote control feature. The goal was to answer 3 research questions. 1. Which of the learning elements would be most effective within the app? 2. Are the engagement elements useful within the app? And 3. Would the app, on the whole, be useful to people with IDD? We found that people liked version B with videos, even though it was seen as triggering. The participants found the emoji-based reward and grounding activities to be useful. And finally, the participants stated that the app can be used by people with IDD to inform mandated reporters about what happened to them to facilitate reporting of abuse. As we build a high-fidelity prototype of Recogniz, we need to ensure that grounding activities are diversified, as different people self-regulate differently. Further, they must always be available and not a specific point in the app. And the utility of the app should be evaluated with a broader audience of people with IDD. In conclusion, we presented the co-design of an app called Recogniz that teaches people with IDD about abuse. Subsequently, we developed 3 prototypes of the app. The prototypes were evaluated with a user study with 6 instructors with IDD who deemed it viable for the community. Thank you for listening to my talk. You can get in touch with me by emailing me at krish@uri.edu.